Okay.
Good.
All right, you guys, welcome to our new episode. We're going to see how this goes. This is take one, episode one of our episode. We don't have a name yet, but maybe you guys can help us with that. So we wanted to spotlight our awesome community members. We have a ton of members here who are in the medical field, first responders, teachers, people who are out there working, even though we've had our state mandated shutdown weeks ago. And so I welcome Diane and David here. They're going to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we're just going to talk about what's going on here. So take it away, guys.
Hello. You go.
Okay. I'm Diane. I manage primary care clinics and specialty clinics here in the area, ranging from Gig Harbor to Bremerton.
And my name is David. I have been an EMT for more than a few years. I work for American Medical Response up in King County. And for the last month and a half, 2 months, we've been working at the airport with the CDC for this response that's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the SeaTac Airport, International Airport here, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Awesome. Yep. And for anybody who's just watching, so Diane's talking about, so we're in Pierce County, which was in Washington State, which the first counties that kind of had a lockdown and school stopped was Snohomish, King, and Pierce. So we're like right in the heart of it. And so awesome. Tell us about kind of what the last 2 weeks have been like for you guys. And have you slept?
So that's a no for David on the sleeping part. For me, there's just been a lot of increased hours, a lot of time away from home. We've seen, because of the specialties that I'm in the medical field, we're primary care. So we're doing a lot of trying to keep people well by encouraging them to stay home, by really make sure people are educated. And it's been a lot of really quick turnaround on trying to keep up with what's happening with the CDC and the DOH and all of those things. So there's a lot of process revamping, like constantly. So it's been a lot of long hours and a lot of stress.
And for me, I think over the last 2 weeks, I put in about 172 hours. This next pay period is going to be around 189, working 7 days a week, 13 to 13 and a half hour days. And so right now I think I'm a jellyfish and I've been hallucinating elk running across the road. So, I mean, that's been pretty cool. But that's only off duty. So on duty, everything's been fine. So it's been really cool to be a part of the process and see everything happening as it develops.
Yeah.
Cool. So have you guys seen, because on our end, or at least from like the small business owners position, things have been evolving like constantly.
Yeah.
Like every day there's something new, and every day everybody, a little bit more people seem to have figured it out of how to kind of make do and the benefits, and trying to see kind of the positive, as opposed to maybe what we're kind of seeing on the news, which is sometimes the opposite. And so is that what you guys are seeing too, is new processes, new procedures, like good stuff happening?
Yeah, absolutely. I know on my end, it's just a constant evolution of care. We're getting to be really innovative right now with how we're caring for people, because ultimately our goal is to keep people home. Which is kind of the opposite of what you usually do in a clinic setting. You usually want to see your people face to face, and you want them there, and you want to provide that hands-on care. And so part of what we've gotten to do is really look at ways to keep people home. So if that means virtual care, or, doing more over the phone, or those kinds of things, getting to develop those processes to try and keep up with keeping people home and keeping people safe.
And on my end, even though I've been at the airport pretty much, for the last month and a half, I've been noticing an evolution in kind of how we're seeing people, treating people, and who's going to the hospital. So like 3 months ago, you would have had somebody go to the hospital who's like, oh, I stubbed my toe. And the firefighters get there and like, well, for liability's sake, just go to the hospital just in case, it's like you broke it and whatever. So they would send people to the hospital. People would call for very interesting things sometimes. And now it's like, even though there's a big stress with the ventilators, and the amount that they have for this response for people being sick, we've seen a huge decrease in the amount of people that are going to the hospital.
Right.
So people aren't calling for those little broken toes anymore. People aren't calling because, they have a paper cut. It's happened. So it's just, things have evolved. People's perceptions have evolved. And I think in the long run, it may be a really good thing, because on an average weekend, we might, last year we would be to the hospital and the ER would be absolutely packed with people who maybe didn't necessarily need to be there. So that's kind of my hope for the future. If there's anything positive to come out of this, is that we kind of get a little bit more perspective on how we should be using the medical system.
Yeah. And
I will say that.
Oh, go ahead.
That's okay. I was going to say the other thing that we've seen that's been really kind of cool is this outcrying of support from our communities. Is, I'm getting calls frequently, can we donate masks? Can we, support people? We've had restaurants come by and drop off food for us, just saying thank you that you're here. So kind of on that positive note, it's been really cool to see kind of how even the small businesses have really still stepped up, and the community has stepped up and to support, the medical field and the response that we're seeing.
Yeah, and you're seeing it nationwide. I mean, tattoo artists are donating supplies, like, big businesses are donating supplies, and, everybody's just trying to come together and really kind of it helps them understand like what's really important, what are the base needs of the general populace, and how can we, support that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the local restaurants who are staying open for takeout, that they're now serving kind of the medical fields in the local hospital, which is really, really cool. I thought that was really neat, and not, easy on their part either to do,
right,
especially with, most of them having to lay off people. So I thought it was really cool to see people doing that. And I was also going to mention that we have another member who works in one of the ERs here in Tacoma, and she said the same thing that you were saying, David, in that probably about a week ago was where they saw a shift in that the ER actually looked like what the ER should look like.
Right.
In terms of people just coming in because of an actual emergency. And so that was really good. She said that it was making their job much, much easier. Hopefully we'll have her on soon too. So
and on the flip side of that, and something, as a cautionary tale, really, you're also seeing people who are quite sick, who don't necessarily want to go to the hospital, like someone who's septic or somebody who's, at risk, who really kind of needs the care, but they're afraid. They're afraid to go to the hospital and get treated because, they might get infected there, So it's kind of that balancing act of like, at what point does it need to tip to get them to go when they really need to, versus are they going to be at risk staying at home? So it's I think hopefully people are being able to be educated on how to care for themselves to understand that typically.
Yeah, that's tough, especially if you're in that at-risk group. I think that's a scary thing. I think that's really where it gets scary, is if you're in that at-risk group and you do have something wrong with you, it would be a scary place, because you're not sure where you should go and where it's safe to go.
For sure. And Yeah, and I think that people need to understand that, especially for those folks that, 911 is always available and they can call and get someone to their house that can kind of help them make that decision. So if they're confused, they're worried, they're tired, we're all stressed, 911 is a good resource to call and be like, hey, this is where I'm at. Can you send somebody over, do an eval, and they can help that person make that decision. And of course, the hospitals are taking every precaution to make sure that, the people who come in are protected. And I tell you what, I have seen so, to see the people going across every single surface after it's been touched at the hospitals, at the airport, compared to what it was like last year even. Not that they weren't taking proper precautions then, but it's just ramped up to a whole nother level now. So I think people need to rest assured that they can go into places like that and still feel safe.
Yeah, I actually think that that's going to be one of the best things coming out of here,
Yeah.
Out of this is that, I mean, even take us, it's like we were clean, but it was like those last couple of weeks where we were still open, we were really clean. That felt
really clean.
good. Yeah. Like really clean. Yeah. I mean, but it felt good. It felt good. And it's probably what we should always have been doing. It's just like the washing the hands. It's like, this isn't a new concept, but well, awesome. Speaking of which, how much do you guys miss the gym?
Oh my God. That is so much. I think for me, I've realized especially this last week, I spend a lot of time in my car. And so you often hear people saying like, oh yeah, my 20-minute drive home is like my time to decompress and, let go of the day and those kinds of things. Well, for me, I drive up and down Highway 16 all the time. And so being in the car is my time to think, and it's my time to like problem solve, and my brain's constantly active. And what I realize is that having the gym is my decompress time. And so it's the only time of the day where I can shut off my brain and have that kind of reset moment. And not having that and coming home and going straight from the craziness of the day to, trying to spend time with our kids and keep up the house and do all the other things that need to be done, not having that time to just have a mental break has been very, very challenging.
Yeah, and for me, it's like we have all the workout stuff at home, and we've had it for years. But that's not why I go to the gym. I mean, I go to the gym, one, for the accountability, for the coaching, but mostly for the social aspect. And I miss the 9 a.m. cruise. I miss Joan giving you crud. I miss all of the Jens and Jennies, I miss Margaret and I miss Emily's hugs. So it's like, that to me is like, that helps me. That's how I decompress there, on top of just the workouts and the feel goods from that, is just having, all the really awesome people there, and the community that's been cultivated is just, it's awesome. And definitely miss it.
Yeah. And, having the regular classes for the kids and those kinds of things has been really hard too, because I can send them the workouts every day and those kinds of things, but it's different when you have that engagement of the coaches and, even for them, just getting that other positive community of encouragement. Right now they only have each other, which when you have 2 teenagers is really scary, leaving them at home because they don't encourage each other. So
yes, I know. Just going somewhere. We're like you. We've had all the equipment too for years, and we do not enjoy working out at our house. So even just being able to go to like a third location is a big deal, because it's hard when you have that drive. You say you have that drive home and you're like, okay, we're going to work out when we get home, say it's 6 p.m. or whatever, but you're in your house, you're in your living room. The kids are either there or in the house, and you're worried about that. At least that's how I am. you're thinking of all the 800 other things that you need to be doing because you're in your house looking at it. You're like looking
Right.
at, you know, your
Yep.
laundry, you're looking at your kitchen, you're looking at
Yep.
all those things that you need to be doing. So yeah, I too have realized that just how much I really enjoy being around people. It's like you don't get into the business not wanting to help people, but it's I've always liked having downtime and alone time, but I've been able to balance that because I've been able to be around so many people, and people, just like you said, David, people giving me crap, and it's awesome. It's awesome to have the interaction, and I miss it tremendously as well. And I hope that everybody's keeping their head on straight and gonna come out of this just fine. That's my hope and my prayer for everybody. So
Yeah.
well, awesome. Well, that is it. I thank you guys for being here. Thanks for staying up an extra 15 minutes, David. And thank you guys for what you're doing. We appreciate it. And hopefully you can get some rest. And we see you guys soon.
All
Yes,
right.
absolutely.
Miss you guys.
Yes.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Bye.